human being with critical thinking, 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 as a human being with critical thinking, as a human being with critical thinking, as a human being with critical thinking, with critical thinking, with critical thinking, human being 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 with critical thinking, human.
All right, human being with critical thinking. I welcome you to this show. This is Critical Thinking 102. In the last video, Critical Thinking 101, we looked at the critical thinker herself, Chika Katie. She is a critical thinker. This woman, as she told us that she had been reading the Bible at a particular time, and later she found out that if you're doing critical thinking, you are not going to be reading the Bible. So she did away with her Bible and began to, as a matter of fact, she said that she became wiser. Oh, she became wiser. So then we looked at one of the references that she cited that made her to walk away from Christianity when she saw that, no, this is not supposed to be. Today, we're going to allow her to continue, and we will pick another reference that she cited, and we will critically look into that and see whether she is right with her critical thinking or not. So let's not just waste much time again. Let's go to the critical thinker and let her continue.
Why pick on Christianity? Or let's say even why pick on certain things that as a human being with critical thinking, that you grew up and you saw it happening and you noticed that deep down in your heart that this is not supposed to be this way. Why pick on things like that? I will let this teaching continue after a while now. After I finish saying what I want to say, listen. There are a lot of things I noticed in the Bible. I read Deuteronomy 20:10-18. Then I read Leviticus 25:44-46. I read Luke 19:26-27. I read Matthew 10:34-36. It makes me to walk away from all this. You understand? It makes me to like walk away from, even going there to use, before I used to go to the Bible.
Okay, so let's just stop there. You've heard it yourself. She, as a human being with critical thinking, she looked into the Bible and she cited certain references, 4 of them in particular. Leviticus chapter 20, Deuteronomy chapter 20, Leviticus chapter 25, Matthew chapter 10, which we're going to look at today, and Luke chapter 19. That was what we actually examined in our class, Critical Thinking 101. And we saw that contrary to what she wanted us to believe, that she's a critical thinker, as we examined the passage, we saw that Jesus was not commanding people to bring his enemies that didn't want him to rule over them. He wasn't commanding his disciples to bring them and to kill them before him. He was actually telling a parable. And what Muslims do, like Chika, what they do is that they cut off every other passage. They cut off every other verse before and after. And then they just zero in on something and twist it and make it say what the passage is not saying. So as you look at, as we examined Luke chapter 19, we saw that the parable began from verse 12 and ended in verse 27. And I even read verse 28, if there was anything after that to suggest that the people actually obeyed the Lord Jesus Christ in slaughtering the people, his enemies, before him. We saw that in verse 28, he simply rose up from where he was talking and he walked away. He walked away. If he commanded the people, if he commanded his disciples to kill his enemies before him, why didn't they do it? Why didn't they? Instead of that, he just rose up from where he was telling the parables and walked away. So today we're going to be looking at another one in Matthew chapter 10, verses 34 to 36 again. That's one of the passages that she looked at, and she was just fed up with all that, and it made her to walk away. So once again, I'm going to invite you to, let's examine Matthew chapter 10 together as we examine critical thinking 102. What is that? What are we going to find in that place? Let me just set it up so that I want to actually look at it on the screen so that you can we can enjoy it all together. So here we have our Bible app that we're going to use. So here I'm just going to go to Matthew chapter 10. Then this is Matthew chapter 10, and we will scroll to verse 34 according to what Chika would like us to believe. So we don't pick just a few verses in isolation. What we do is that we look at the preceding verses and the following verses. So I'll go to verse 32. Whoever acknowledges me before others, I will also acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever disowns me before others, I will disown before my Father in heaven. Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace. This is the passage that she's reading. But you see that in verses 32 and 33, we have the setting. So here is the setup. Jesus is talking about those people that call themselves his disciples, but when the chips are down, they are not going to acknowledge him before men. They're going to deny him. They're going to disown him. So he said, I also will deny them. And those who will stand by their profession no matter what, he said he's also going to confess them before his Father that is in heaven. And then he goes ahead in verse 34 to say, do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. This is the passage that Chika is reading. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And in verse 36, a man's enemies will be the members of his own house. Wow, what a passage. Before we come back to examine this passage, I would want us once again to have an interlude. This is a record that I've just released. It is critical thinking. So let's just enjoy that critical thinking.
human being with critical thinking, 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 as a human being with critical thinking, as a human being with critical thinking, as a human being with critical thinking, with critical thinking, with critical thinking, human being 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 with critical.
All right. Human being with critical thinking. By the way, if you want to book your own copy of that track, I I don't have many copies left. It's an interesting record. Human being with critical thinking. So let's go back to the passage that we're reading. Let's see what that passage actually says, using our critical thinking faculty. And so Jesus Christ, he told his disciples that whoever denied him, he would deny them. That is the setting in verses 32 and 34. And then he said, do not suppose that I have come to the world to bring peace. He was talking to his disciples. I did not come to bring peace. And then he explained the whole thing to them. In verse 37, anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whosoever finds their life will lose it, and whosoever loses their life for my sake will find it. This is the whole passage that Chika found revolting. And she said, what? What is this? But there is something that we should notice. There's something that we should notice. It is very common for Dawa people, and Chika is one of them, to take Bible passages and interpret them in the light of their Quran or in the light of their Hadith. What Muslims do with the Bible is that they want to make Christianity look bad so that Islam is not going to look so bad, to minimize the impact that all the violence caused by Islam and to minimize the impact of that on the minds of people, what people think about Islam. So they want to portray, they want to show Christianity in a bad light, and they're looking for passages that, passages that look a little bit like Jesus is preaching violence. This is critical thinking 102, distinguishing between literals and metaphors. Was Jesus talking literally in that passage? No, he wasn't. Because if he was talking literally, his disciples would have taken the thing literally. Let's look at other passages to prove the point. You see, I am going to go right into just a little bit later after this. It's another passage in Matthew. Isn't it very interesting that in Matthew that she read in that made her walk away, that is in chapter 10. As we look at the end of Matthew, that is, let's just look at it together. In chapter 26. This is Matthew 26, and I'll be looking at, so let me put that on the screen, Matthew 26 now, and I'll be looking at verse 52. Matthew 26, 52. Here you have You have it. So Jesus was arrested. This was Garden of Gethsemane. He was there together with his disciples and asked them to watch, to pray, and all that. And there, Judas came and wanted to betray him. In verse 50, Jesus said, "Do what you came for, friend." That is in verse 50. Then the men stepped forward, seized Jesus, and arrested him. Verse 51. With that, one of Jesus' companions reached for his sword. By the way, Ahmed Didat, the late South African Muslim cleric, he used to preach that Jesus Christ, in another passage, when he said, "Sell your sandals or sell your clothes and buy a sword if you don't have," that he was actually preparing his disciples to fight. But when the day of the battle came, what did Jesus do? According to them, Jesus wanted his disciples to fight. So with that, one of his disciples, one of his companions, reached for his sword, drew it out, and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his hair. Verse 52. "Put your sword back in its place," Jesus said to him. Wow. This is Jesus that is commanding his disciples to fight and at the same time commanding them not to fight. What a contradiction. Then he went ahead to say, "For all who draw the sword die by the sword." All who draw the sword die by the sword. Wow. Chika, did you read this? So you see, Christians don't stay at a particular place to literally look at a passage that is meant to be metaphorical. And we're going to see that because I will take you through commentators upon commentators. The question I want to ask is this: why is it that right from the time of Jesus, if he actually commanded his disciples to fight, to use sword, as Chika is insinuating in Matthew chapter 10, verses 34 to 36, why is it that his disciples did not go out to fight? That means they were very disobedient. They were disobedient. Instead of fighting, instead of killing, they were willing to sacrifice their own very lives to defend what they believed. When I said defend, I'm not saying physically. I mean to stand by their profession. Why is it that the majority of the apostles died by the sword, by fire, by crucifixion, by casting them to lions, tearing them into pieces? Why is it that he didn't get the sword and fight? Why? If actually Jesus Christ wanted them to fight. More than that, I want Chika to answer this question. Which of the disciples, which of the Church of Christ, for the first 400 years of spreading the gospel of Jesus, which of them actually went out with violence to spread that message? Which of them? Just tell me which year, which of the apostles, which of the Christian churches went out to spread the gospel with violence, killing people, subjugating people like Islam did? You see, the point is this. We know, the whole world know, that it is Islam that was spread by violence, by the sword. It is Islam. It is not Christianity. But people who don't want to use their critical thinking, even though they are mentioning critical thinking, they want to mislead people and want to change the narrative. We will not allow you to change the narrative. The narrative is this, that the disciples of Jesus Christ went everywhere preaching the gospel with peace, with power of the Holy Spirit, and the whole world was attentive to them because not only did they preach the gospel, they also performed signs and wonders that made people to come in their droves to come to the Lord Jesus Christ. They were not the ones that spread their message by violence. It was Muhammad and his Sahabas that spread their own message with violence. And so, back to this passage, you see, Jesus said, "Do you think I cannot call on my Father and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? But how then will the scriptures be fulfilled that say it must happen in this way?" Chika. Have you read this? In all of your years while you were growing up, according to you, did you not read this place? But the Dawa people came to you and were handpicking certain passages and were twisting those passages. And now you said, oh, you walked away. You saw that it ought not to be. I want to ask you another question. Have you heard about Hezbollah? Hezbollah actually means the armies of Allah or the soldiers of Allah. Have you heard about Hezbollah in southern Lebanon? Have you heard about ISIS? ISIS means Islamic States of Iran and Syria. Have you heard about Al-Qaeda in Saudi Arabia? Have you heard about the Taliban in Afghanistan? Have you heard about the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt? Have you heard about Al-Shabaab in Somalia? Have you heard about the Somali pirates also in Somalia? Have you heard about Boko Haram in northern Nigeria? Have you heard about ISWAP in West Africa? What do they have in common? It is one thing. They are all Islamic jihadists. Now show me, of all the nations of the world, can you name 2, 3, or 5 that are actually terrorist organizations, Christian terrorist organizations that are fighting people, killing here and there? Show me one. There is not one. People generally bring up KKK. KKK is not a Christian organization. KKK is not a Christian organization. And so I don't know where you got your idea from that you looked at looked at Matthew and it puts you off, because we've seen that it is not like that. Let me show you some other passages of the Bible. I'm going to read from John chapter 18. John chapter 18. Let's go back to our Bible app in John 18. And then let's see what is there. This is John. And I'm going to read from chapter 18 here. And we're reading verse 36. John chapter 18 in verse 36. Oh, here we have. Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world." My kingdom is not of this world. Have you seen it? Did you read this in all of the years that you spent as a Christian in quote? Did you read that? And he went ahead to say, if my kingdom were of this world, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jewish leaders. But now my kingdom is from another place. This is the very reason why Christians don't go about fighting, killing, maiming, raping when anybody insults Jesus or when anybody attacks the Bible. See, you are here saying all that you like. In fact, on top of your video, what you have there on top of your video is that because people are no longer afraid to speak the truth, I dare you to speak the truth about Muhammad in any Islamic country and see whether your head will still remain on your neck. And so do not come to gaslight us. Do not come to deceive anybody here. Read the passage. After all, you're talking about critical thinking. Read the passage and see what it is saying. Jesus Christ never said he was going to send sword to kill people. Look at what he said here. He said, if my kingdom were of this world, my disciples will be fighting. That's exactly why Muslims are fighting everywhere. Their kingdoms, the kingdom of Allah is of this world. Everything is in this world. Struggle to grab power, struggle to take control, struggle to dominate people, struggle to subjugate people. That's Islam. That's not Christianity. Christianity is preached by persuasion. We persuade people by the power of the Lord, by the Spirit of the Lord, by the word of life. We persuade people. We don't go about with sword. Of course, there are situations in which Christians were attacked and they had to defend themselves. It is not because the Bible commands them to go and subjugate people. No, that's exactly the point. You cannot see any passage where Jesus Christ actually commanded his disciples to go and do that. you won't find one. So I wonder where you got all this your idea from. Even currently in Nigeria, in this protest a few days ago, did you not read in the news how a suicide bomber, how can somebody in his right mind put bomb upon himself and to blow up himself, killing several other people? Sometimes it is in their hundreds. But in this last one, they killed about 16, a suicide bomber. Who was that suicide bomber? Was he a Christian? No, he wasn't. Use your critical thinking and tell us, why is it that everywhere in the world, it is the Muslims that are at loggerheads with every other person? In every country that they get to, they are fighting, tearing things into pieces, bloodbath everywhere. Hezbollah, I've mentioned. Who are the people in Hezbollah? Who are the people in ISIS? Who are the people in Al-Qaeda? Who are the people that are called the Taliban? They're all Muslims. Who are the Muslim Brotherhood? Who are the people in Al-Shabaab? Who are the people in Boko Haram? Who are the people in ISWAP? They're all Muslims. Show me any Christian organization that is doing 1/10. 1/10 is even too much. 1% of that. Use your critical thinking to condemn all of these things. Jesus Christ never said his disciples, he said, put back your sword. Whoever takes the sword, whoever kills by the sword, he himself will die by the sword. That's what Jesus Christ said. And I've shown it to you. But let me show something else. So we want to see now. Here is commentary. Here is commentary on Matthew chapter 10. Commentary that is comments and expositions on Bible on Bible. That's what we call Bible commentary. There are Quranic commentaries too upon almost every ayah in the Quran. Okay, when we get to that place, we shall see. But for now, we're looking at Bible commentary. All the Bible commentaries, right from the beginning up until now, which of them interpreted that place? Which of them understood Matthew chapter 10 to be saying, Matthew chapter 10 verses 34 to 36, which of the Bible commentaries, many of them, which of them actually understood what Jesus Christ was saying literally? Which of them? There is zero. None of them understood it. It is only Muslims that come into our Bible and they come and tell us what our Bible is saying. Whereas all of the disciples of Jesus Christ that ate with him, that slept, went everywhere with him, they never understood Jesus to be saying that. But here we are in the 21st century. Muslims will come with a better understanding of the Bible than what all the Christians in 2,000 years of Christianity have understood. So let's look at this Bible commentary. As you can see, this is Ellicott's commentary for English readers. This is Meyer's New Testament commentary. This is Benson commentary. This is Expositor's Greek Testament. This is Cambridge Bible for schools and colleges. They are all commentaries. This is Bengel's Nomen. This is Matthew Henry's concise commentary. This is Pulpit commentary. This is all of them. Vincent's Word Studies. All these commentaries. This is Burns' Notes on the Bible. Show me any of them that said Jesus was literally bringing sword. I'm going to go to Matthew Henry. I love Matthew Henry. By the way, I can open any of the commentaries. After Matthew Henry, if I have the time, I'll show another one. So here is Matthew Henry. This is Matthew chapter 10. And he does the thing, 16 to 42. Our Lord warned his disciples to prepare for persecution. Have you seen that? Have you seen that? That is the meaning of that passage. He warned his disciples to prepare for persecution. They were to avoid all things which gave advantage to their enemies, all meddling with worldly or political concerns, which Islam actually embraces wholeheartedly, all appearance of evil or selfishness, and all underhand measures. Christ foretold troubles. He foretold troubles. Anyone that will follow him, he said, take up your cross and follow me. Cross is not easy. That's why so many people are afraid to be true Christians. Not only that the troubles might not be a surprise, that was why he was warning them, but that they might confirm their faith. He tells them what they should suffer and from whom. From whom? From Antichrist. Thus, Christ has dealt fairly and faithfully with us in telling us the worst we can meet with in his service. And he will have us deal so with ourselves in sitting down and doing what? Counting the cost. Persecutors are worse than beasts in that they prey upon those of their own kind. The strongest bonds of love and duty have often been broken through from enmity against Christ. That's exactly the meaning of what he said. He told them that they of your household will be your enemies. When I became a Christian, I told in one of the previous episodes that I was from a Muslim family. And my brothers and sisters that are listening to me now will bear me witness. Okay? When I became a Christian, my father, my mother, nearly everybody, they forsook me. They forsook me, deprived me of basic necessities of life. Not that I was a bad boy. I was actually a very bad boy before I became born again. We would go out, gamble, run after girls. I would steal my mother's money. But when I became a Christian and went to her to confess, I even confessed that, Mom, I did this. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to do that again. Oh, all hell broke loose. Not because I was confessing my evil deeds, but because I walked away from Islam and became a Christian. They did everything possible. Eventually, they gave up. And here am I today. After more than 35 years, I am still a Christian. That's exactly what Jesus Christ was saying. He never commanded his disciples to use sword. So what I'm going to tell you, Chika, is that you should come back to Jesus. He loves you. If anybody is walking away from Christianity, Islam can never be it can never in a million years be the alternative. Because if you use your critical thinking just as you have said, you will find out that there is violence. Violence that you are afraid of. It is in Islam. And so if you go back, as I try to wrap up everything now, if you actually go back to any other commentary, I can pick anyone at random. You will see what they're going to say there. Nobody, none of the disciples of Jesus Christ ever understood him to be saying that he was bringing literal sword. They knew he was speaking metaphorically. He was preparing them for the violence which they were not going to do, but which were going to be done against them. That was what Jesus was saying. And he was saying, even in this, you should not deny me. You should not reject me. And that's why from the very first apostles, many of them were killed violently, died through sword, died through burning, died through beheading, died through attacks by lions. They would throw them into lions and would sit down and be laughing. Actually, that was the beginning of the Olympics. This thing that they call Olympics now, that was the beginning. All right? They would bring out people, offenders, people they considered offenders in the society, and bring ferocious animals and threw them there. And they did that to Christians too. All right? And later on, it was Christians that forced them, not by fighting, but by appealing to their conscience. Christians rejected going there to sit down with them in the arena. They used to call it arena, where they would bring out animals and throw people there, and they would sit down and be laughing and be rejoicing. And Christians said, no, we cannot be party to this. That was what abolished that practice. Go and read history, Chika. Go and read history and stop pretending that you're using any critical thinking. Let me just look at one more Bible commentary. Let's say okay, let's read this. I have never read this commentary before. Let's think not that I am come, as if he had said, because the prophets have spoken glorious things of the peace and happiness of the world under reign of the Messiah, whom they have named, for that reason, the Prince of Peace. You may imagine that I am come to put the world into that happy state forthwith, and that universal peace will be the immediate consequence of my coming. But this is far from being the case, for though the nature of my government be such as might produce abundant felicity, inasmuch as my religion breathes nothing but love, men will not lay aside their animosity, nor will they exercise a mutual friendship among themselves as soon as the gospel is preached to them. No, such is their wickedness, that they will make the gospel itself an occasion of such bitter dissensions, that it will look as if I had not come to send peace, but a sword among men. For, as I told you before, the nearest relations shall quarrel among themselves, and both public and private divisions will follow wheresoever my gospel comes with power. Yet observe well, reader, this is not the design, though it be the event of his coming, though the opposition of devils and men to his truth, and the blessed effects of it. You understand that? The force of a man that is converted to my religion and loves and follows me shall be they of his own household, persons of his own family, or such as are nearly related to him. That's exactly what he's saying. It is all about persecution against the believers, persecution against Christians. That's what Jesus was saying. That because of him, because of the gospel, the world will take up arms and fight the followers of Jesus Christ. Everywhere the gospel is preached, there's going to be hatred, not because they have done any bad thing, but because the light has come and darkness hates light. That is where I'm going to stop today. If you think that you have anything to defend, if you think there is anything I'm missing, you see that I have taken time to go through. Please and please, and if anyone knows Chika, please direct her attention to this particular video. I would like to sit down with you, okay? Maybe on my channel if you don't mind, or if you want me to come to your channel, let's discuss this thing. Let's use critical thinking according to you. Let's use critical thinking. Let's examine the passages that you are quoting, and let's see whether Jesus Christ was actually saying these things literally. And why is it that his disciples did not, if they understood these things to be literal, why didn't they carry it out? Why didn't they go everywhere, destroying, killing, maiming, beheading people? Why didn't they do it? That's my question to you, Chika. But on the other hand, we see that right from the inception of Islam, right from the up until now, it's been bloodbath upon bloodbath, violence upon violence, beheading upon beheading. In fact, let me ask you, since we are talking about the sword now, which nation of the world always has sword as their emblem? Which nation? Which organizations in the world always have sword as their emblem? All right. Let me quickly show you a few of them. I hope I'll be able to find these ones easily now. Let's see. By the way, you know that the flag of Saudi Arabia, is it contains sword. So if I search here and I said flag of jihad, let's see what's going to come up. And let me pick images. Flag of jihad. Let's see. What is this? What is this? Did you see that? Did you see? What is this? That's sword. Okay. Let's go forward. What is this? This one. What is this? It is sword. This one. What is it? Let's close this. Let's go forward. Let's go forward. What is this? Sword. Let's go forward. Let's go forward. Everywhere. What is this? What is this? All right. What is that? Sword. Sword. What is this? How about this? Can you see? Sword. Everywhere. What is this? This one. Can you see? Can you see everywhere? Sword everywhere. Sword everywhere. And you have the guts to come here and say you were disgusted. You were disgusted. Check for the flag of jihad in Kano. I don't have much time to do all that. Check for the flag of Saudi Arabia. And you're going to see everywhere it is sword. It is violence. It is bloodbath. It is bloodbath. And you want to come and gaslight Christians and say you have found something by critical thinking. Please, let's use critical thinking properly. So I'm going to end with this.
Yeah. Human being with critical thinking. 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 I say human being with critical thinking. I say human being with critical thinking. I say human being with critical thinking. With critical thinking. With critical thinking. Human being 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 with critical thinking.
So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what your opinions are in the comment section down below. See you in the next video. Bye.